Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, we're about to spectate a 3v3 on the map Hill Fort between my viewers, of course part of my weekly Twitch TV live streams. If you want to get in on this, I encourage you to head on over to my Twitch page, scroll underneath the video player there to find my live streaming schedule. I do update that about every few days, and if you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you will get updates on when I'm streaming next. So Hill Fort is a particularly interesting map, and I will try to remember at the very end to show you guys, because it's a map that has been in the game, in HD Edition, for over 3 years now. It came in the Forgotten DLC. It's just that this map has been super bugged, so we've never actually had a chance to play it on stream, because if you have 8 players, and it's only bugged with 8 players. If you have 8 players and every player is a teammate, so like a 4v4, then players tend to spawn inside each other, so we've never actually had a chance to play this map, but I do think it's an interesting one. Essentially, let's go. Players spawn on a hill surrounded by walls, so think arena meets Acropolis. Just waiting for Algernon. He's gotta fix something. Alright, we're gonna stall, do some stand-up comedy, or just explain the map. So essentially, think arena meets Acropolis. So every player starts on a hill surrounded by walls, which means that early game rushes aren't going to be disincentivized. By the way, feel free to skip ahead about 30 seconds if you want to get into the start of this match, but it shouldn't be too long. You said only a minute. So everybody is on a hill, surrounded by walls. However, when I say meets Acropolis, I mean it because, while you are able to build on the sides of your hills, the actual resources that you have in your initial walls are very, very limited. And by the way, your little hill is surrounded by a tiny, cute little moat of shallows, which doesn't really matter, but it's thematic. And you kind of feel like you're in a castle. The thing is that most of the resources on the map are actually on the low ground, which means that they will be no problem. Players will be forced to expand outside of the safety of their castle walls onto the low ground where it's dangerous and where the fighting takes place. Bomblack says, "Hello, Residence 22. Your presentation skills and talking is so damn professional." Thank you so much, Bomblack. I appreciate it. I try. Thank you. Alright, hopefully we load in. Windscreen Wiper has some HD stability issues, but of no fault of his own, and it looks like we've loaded in. So we're going to start off by introducing all the players real fast. So, on the top side of the map, we have Street Pete AOC, not to be confused with Pete, different person, aka Ogasso Gas, playing as the Red Huns. He will be teaming up with Mothump, the Orange Incas, and Windscreen Wipers, the Teal Chinese. On the bottom side of the map, whoops. The bottom side of the map, I'm trying to click this real fast, my mouse sensitivity is too high. Ready Teddy will be playing as the Green Celts, Aoe2 will be playing as the Purple Indians, and Algernon R will be playing as the Gray Franks. In the start of this match, I'm going to be talking a little bit about players' civilization choices, as a lot of the players did end up randoming here, and just talking a little bit more about what these civs do, as well as just the map in general. Because this is a particularly interesting map, and one that I've been meaning to play, and after doing some investigating, I realized that the grouped by teams function, which spawns the super bugged map where players are inside of each other, only happens if there are 8 players and every player has a teammate. So that means that, since I've discovered that we can actually do 3v3s on this map with no problems, and that, you know, free-for-alls and whatnot. This bug, by the way, does affect any map that uses the group by team function. So this includes Nile Delta and Lombardia, for example. Hopefully this does get fixed in a future patch. I did actually compile all the information that I figured out, and then I did forward that to Skybox, so hopefully that does indeed get fixed. Alright, sleep well, Giant Apple, and thank you so much for tuning in. As always, guys, I appreciate the support for all the Age of Empires 2, as well as videos for games that are not Age of Empires 2. Thanks in advance. Now, onto the actual civs themselves. First one I think I really want to talk about here are the Indians, one I haven't had too much time to talk about in great detail. Aoe2 is playing as the Indians. He's one of the few players that actually picked a civ in this game. The Indians are a particularly interesting civ because they actually do not have access to knights at all, but instead they have very, very strong camel units. And what makes their camels so strong is the +5 attack bonus versus buildings and the +1 armor plus pierce armor. The thing is that in original AOC, camels were considered to be not particularly great rating units. I think it would be difficult without rebalancing them to actually make them a suitable substitute for knights. But why is that? So in the original Age of Empires 2, camels were actually classified as boats. They had like the same armor type, which means that they took significantly additional damage from things like, you know, town centers, castles, and watchtowers, thus making them awful raiding units. Because when you're trying to raid in Age of Empires 2, you're trying to stay away from the opposing town centers, go over those exterior villagers, and if you happen to take any arrow shots, then you just die. The other thing is that camels don't apply that much offensive pressure. They're an excellent unit in general, don't get me wrong. They're a very strong counter to knights. It's just that as a standalone raiding unit, they don't apply nearly enough offensive pressure due to their low attack stat. They don't threaten buildings, they don't threaten to kill enemy town centers, and they don't really kill villagers quick enough with only a measly 5 attack. So what do the Indians get as a civilization that actually makes them a suitable substitute for knights? The additional +1/+1 armor makes them much better raiding units. And, of course, in the Forgotten expansion to Aoe2 HD, they did actually rebalance camels, so they still take a little bit of extra damage from castles and town centers and whatnot, but it's less than it was before. They're no longer ships. That combined with the attack bonus versus buildings mean that camels are now able to threaten enemy town centers, and they're almost viable raiding units if you are the Indians. And the Indians are a civ that is very strange, and we're certainly weak around the Forgotten's release, but after all the buffs, I do think that the Indians are actually a strong civilization, and that the camels should not be underestimated as a substitute for knights. You're actually able to do some significant damage to them, and I actually really hate playing against the Indians personally, because the thing with the Indians is that if you are a civ that is shoehorned into making knights, like you're the Franks or something like that, it's really unfun playing against the Indians, because the Indians are going to go for camels, because camels are, very fast if they're in the pocket position. Generally knights are the go-to unit because of their mobility and their just sheer strength, difficult to counter. And then if there happens to be an opposing Indian's pocket, suddenly your knight rush just sucks, because you kind of have to make the knights. Because if you go for something like crossbowmen and you're in the pocket, they're never going to make there in time because of the colossal rush distance. So it feels like you're shoehorned into making knights, which just get owned by the camels that the Indians have to mass up because they can't make knights of their own. So that always feels kind of frustrating. Welcome to the stream, Fabrix. Good to see you. That being said, I don't think the Indians are necessarily OP. I just think that they're kind of a feast or famine civilization. Same thing with elephant archers, is also a hotly contested, unique unit in the community as to how good it actually is. Thank you, Mangadied, for the 6-month resub. This is Oh My Dog, 6 months. Thank you, my friend. The elephant archer is very strong if massed up. You think of it like an incredibly tanky, slow cavalry archer, comparable to war wagons. They're very strong if massed up, but take a long time to mass up themselves. I feel like Cision did an excellent job rebalancing them so that they actually feel more fair now. Overall, I do think that the Indians are a fairly decent civilization. I mean, we can compare them to the Persians, which was the other civ that was actually selected this game. Who is our Persians this game? Or do we not have a Persians player anymore? Oh, someone must have swapped off Persians. I was going to compare them to Persians, but I can't. Talk a little bit about the Chinese in this game. The Chinese have a particularly odd start due to the fact that they start with 6 villagers and not the normal 3, and no food is something that definitely throws a lot of players off. But overall, the Chinese are a very strong civilization. They bring a lot of utility to the team. They have a particularly well-balanced tech tree. They're such a well-rounded civilization. They particularly excel in team games, where their kind of awkward start is not a huge deal, and the extra food that they give you on the farms is just excellent. They're just such a well-balanced tech tree. Huns, of course, just a very strong rushing civ with very binary, excel in basically only cavalry units and trash units. Very strong early on due to all the wood they save from not having to build houses. Motham is playing as the Incas, so this is a civ that I have not actually had much of a chance to talk about at all. So the Incas, again, are one of those civs that were pretty bad on release, but have since been buffed significantly. Starting with the free llama, which is essentially a sheep with a better line of sight, is great. It's the type of bonus that allows you to... So if you have trouble finding your sheep at the start of the game, the Incas no longer have to deal with slow starts at all. You could just immediately start eating your llama if you haven't found your sheep yet. And if you have found your sheep, then the llama allows you to get some excellent early game scouting, because the llama has slightly better line of sight. Overall, the Incas are a fairly well-rounded civilization. It's worth noting that actually the Slinger unit is legitimately okay to make in the Castle Age just in general. It actually matches it fairly favorably versus Crossmen. It's just a strong unit. It does have a different resource cost associated with it. Even though this thing does not have an Imperial Edge upgrade, it's actually still pretty good. And the reason being, of course, is that Couriers now gives +1, +2 armor to everything. The Kamiok, Slingers, and Eagles, as opposed to the movement speed bonus, which is huge! Kamiok is a great unit too. Smith PGD, it's your 2-year anniversary. Thank you so much for all the help. Really appreciate it. And Hutchie TV, thank you so much for the $30. He says Imperial Camels are by far the coolest unit in the game. Oh, I agree. I think they're a very cool unit in general, very cool looking. Two, if you are having trouble dealing with the Indians, then one of the ways to deal with their army is that Imperial camels actually have very, very low pierce armor. So if you have like massed arbalists or hand cannoneers, it's actually a good way to take them down. In addition to that, they don't really deal, they don't trade that efficiently with things like halberdiers or even very strong infantry units like champions. They lose to things like Teutonic Knights, for example. So the Indians are not without their counters. They're like a very slow boomy civ. The Incas actually have some fairly good units at their disposal, like their Eagle Warriors are certainly decent now. The Kameyuks are just a great anti-cavalry unit in general, and the extra range of them is just excellent. They just have just strong combat stats. Like the extra +1, +2 armor is a fantastic bonus. The Incas, of course, do have a very strong tower rush as well. Thank you for the reminder, by the way, guys, on the misdonation. Charles Hardwood says, if this isn't pre-recorded, then how come I know that Teal will go to the Imperial Age in exactly 9 minutes and 43 seconds? Well, we'll see, we'll see. Ragemaster says, I had a 3-hour and 30-minute Aoe2 game, and during that time I collected 170,000 food and wood, and the enemy Hun had lost 3,200 units. Nice. Dark Paladin says, Monk Rush is very punishing towards the Indians, though. I mean, yeah, they certainly can be. Yeah, because I guess the camels don't kill the monks as fast, but generally speaking, I would say that the Monk Rush is not significantly stronger versus the Indians than it would be versus other civilizations, but something to always watch out for. Monk Rush, of course, though, is a strategy that you really mostly only see on a map like Arena or potentially Hill Fort. So when I think a little bit about this actual map itself, I imagine that the dominant strategy here is, of course, going to be the fast Castle Age build order, where players will be trying to sit in the Dark Age until around 27 population. They'll get to the Feudal Age, they'll build a blacksmith and market to fulfill that building requirement, and then immediately go to the Castle Age and then figure out what to do from there. Instead of the blacksmith and the market, though, I do think it's not necessarily out of the question to go for something like monks, which you would still go blacksmith and market for. But if you're going for like crossbows, which I don't think is out of the question, the rush distance is not that far here, then a blacksmith barracks and archer range I think is sufficient. So really, like, the general idea is these stone walls do disincentivize players from going for any sort of feudal or dark age aggression because they can't really get through those walls in time. So once the Castle Age hits, though, that's when the combat really begins. Ragemaster says, the Malians have a bonus that their buildings cost less wood, and since it applies to farms, does it apply to reseeded farms as well? Yeah, so every farm that you build is 15% cheaper, and I think that's where the problem with the Malians comes in. I think that's one of the things that makes them too strong. Another thing that I think is going to be really good on a map like Hill Fort is going to be plopping down town centers towards the back of your base. Like, I feel like this middle ground area is going to be hotly contested territory where players are going to have to be super duper careful. So good to see them building town centers, generally speaking, near the back. I think that building a second town center near stone walls is probably unnecessary, but we'll have to see. Oh, T90 is here. Welcome to the stream, T90. Good to see you as well. Little Blast, Miss Aimbot, Mechanical Unicorn. Welcome to the stream, guys. Hello, Antanuki. Sorry about that. Went to go get a sip of water. I am actually surprised. Everyone's Castle Age in this game is quite fast. Kanye Twist will be putting down 2 TCs at the back of his base. Looks like players will be opting for just more of a standard boom. Kanye Twist is actually going for a particularly interesting play here. He is, and we see pro players do this a lot, he's spending a little bit of wood on these palisade walls, putting them in front of this gate, just see when windscreen wipers exits out of this gate. So this gives him just a little bit of vision. We'll see right here he has vision on just those 2 tiles. And we see that like expert players will do that to mark the location of wolves, for example, to know when your opponent is trying to exit his own base. A lot of villagers on gold for Street Pete AOC, but what does that mean for red? Will he be going for cavalry archers? Fairly standard opening for the Huns due to the cheaper cavalry archer bonus. Pounce Bounce asks, what do you think of a Thermopylae custom map where you get to the enemy, you have to cross a narrow choke point between 2 cliffs? I think that could be an interesting map. We just have to make sure that it doesn't end up being too stally, so I'd have to see. Try to notice everybody, Antanuki, but if I miss out on anyone's hello or messages, feel free to tag me again. Yeah, it could end up being a very stally map, we'll have to see. Right off the bat, not too many players here are making really anything in the realm of military units, but Kanye West does have a monk. Will he be building a siege workshop? Monks and mangonels are just an excellent combination, I think, for any sort of castle age pressure, mostly because the monks don't pressure buildings on their own. So you need some sort of siege weapons with them. And monks are just positively awful versus massed cheap ranged units. So you want to be converting value units, things like knights. The thing is though, is that that's where the mangonel comes in as a way to, disincentivize your opponent from going for something like, crossbowmen or whatever. The mangonel will be able to deal with that, and then pressure building safely, which the monk cannot do on its own. Looks like he's just going to snag some relics right off the bat. Miss Aimbot asks, could they have done a tower hop? I'm not sure if that's fixed in AoE2 HD, but I suppose this is a strategy you can do on this map. I would assume, though, that it's much worse in Hillfort than it is in Arena because of the elevation disadvantage. This means that your watchtower will be doing a little bit less damage, it'll be taking more, and... I don't know, I don't think it would be that effective. Also, your opponent has, more places that he can actually run to. Alright, Aoe2 here with the relic. Everybody just booming up right about now. I do think that Castle Age Aggression would be viable in this map. I don't necessarily blame anybody for not going for it. Starlight Pinky asks, is a Dresh viable on Arena? I imagine that there would be a situation where that's viable, but I will say in general, no. Perhaps if your opponent was... I don't know, for some reason, he has a lot of villagers outside of his initial walls early on, or you somehow managed to sneak them in there, but that would be fairly difficult. I will say, though, that the mark of a good player is knowing that nothing is necessarily off the table, and that every strategy is situational. So, yes, there's probably a time when going for a Drush in Arena is the right choice. It's just that it's going to be incredibly uncommon. The Blackman says, in Hillfort, all team players start super close to each other. Is the pocket flank dynamic even relevant in this situation? Oh, no, that's a very good question. So, this is one of the few maps in the game that uses the group by team function, which we just don't get to see utilized very often because it's been broken in HD for quite a while. Hopefully that gets fixed. I would like to see a lot more maps like this. I think it would really shake up the Age of Empires 2 metagame, create a little bit of a different dynamic here. I do think that the pocket flank thing kind of matters because the rush distance is still bigger, but it doesn't matter nearly as much. You're still more likely to attack the flanks, but essentially we can consider them all to be generally the same. So I think it would make a negligible difference. So, Aoe2 is desperately trying super relevant your Rage Master if you are playing on Hillfort. HTV asks, is there a way to disable trebs when using your AI? Not at present, no. They do kind of rely on trebuchets. You could always make a scenario and then disable trebuchets in the unit list, but I think you would receive a lot of side effects if you were playing with Resonance Pod and disabled some of the units. Maybe I could add a command for that somewhere in the future, I'll have to say. Well, not too much interesting has happened right now. Celts, of course, is a civilization that is very heavily focused on their infantry plus siege combination, Halberdiers plus siege onagers is generally what we think of when we think of a civilization. They're just a very decent civ. Overall, even on open maps like Arabia, their faster woodcutting bonus is an excellent economy bonus. Thank you so much, Torminator, for the 17-month reset. This is fun games, everyone. Yeah, the next patch for HD will contain a bunch of bug fixes and balance changes, as well as performance improvements. The question is, though, at what cost? Hey, hopefully if, they don't, fix a bunch of bugs and make the game run better, and then, things just go out of sync every 5 seconds, so hopefully it just isn't a trade-off. Hopefully there's no catch. Rage Master says, I have to go, have a nice Thanksgiving. It's a little early for that, my friend, but I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well, Rage Master. Thank you for the kind wishes. Thanksgiving is not for quite a while. So, Barracks coming down for Street Pete AOC as well as a Siege Workshop, so he's thinking about going up to the Imperial Age relatively soon. I'm surprised we didn't see any Castle Age aggression, but, when you think about it, since players spawn so close to each other, perhaps this does make it so it's actually difficult to rush in the Castle Age, or at least significantly more difficult, because players will be able to easily come to their teammates' aid. We'll have to see. Windscreen Wiper's lagging just a little bit. Everybody booming quite effectively. So, 82 population for Algernon. Motham a little bit behind on the boom. Windscreen Wipers 85. Aoe2 85. Ready 20, 87. Street Beat 86. So Motham is just a bit behind on his boom compared to everybody else, and we're going to have to see exactly why that is. Perhaps there's no particularly actually relevant reason here. He's on 3 TCs. I think most players are on 4. Yes, 4 here for Street Beat AOC. So he was just delaying that a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why his own population is just a bit behind. He's doing some scouting, though. Universities, monasteries coming down, so it looks like players will be on their way to the Imperial Age, and then this is when the action will actually pick up. The same boss says Canadian Thanksgiving. Oh! I didn't actually know that. So, Canadian Thanksgiving is when? I learn something new every day. It's Thanksgiving weekend in Canada. It's on the 10th. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me know, everybody. Flatch says, I could say my dick is huge with tons of features, but that doesn't make it true. Thank you, Flatch. Yeah, I hope that patch 4.8 doesn't come at a cost. You know, it's real performance fixes with asterisks and then a very, very fine print that just says, the yogurt is also cursed. Now, of course, when you're playing a team game of Age of Empires 2, one of the most important things that you can do is establish a trade line in the late game. This is what separates the men from the boys, and if you're running out of gold, the thing that you need to do is make more trade carts. So we're going to need to trade from corner to corner, because it's not the distance that the trade carts travel, it's the difference from market to market in a straight line. We do have to watch out for these forests that could be obstructing the trade line, though, so players may need to cut through those, and that's also another reason why you want to build your initial town centers at the back, try and clear out these trees, allowing yourself an unobstructed trade line. Bunch of stables coming down here, so what I like about defensive maps is that there are a lot of different types of army comps that you could open up with, and essentially, it comes down to who can predict that, and then open up with the counter units initially. Because transitioning into counter units is generally going to slow you down, as you need to pay for all those upgrades, wait for those things to research. So that does create a window of opportunity that your opponent can take advantage of. And looks like Aoe2 is our first player to the Imperial Age. I'm assuming he's going for camels, but he just does not quite have the economy for it. Light cavalry upgrade is complete. He has 2k gold in the bank. Is he waiting on chemistry? What is the game plan for Aoe2? We're not sure. He does not really have a large enough economy yet, I think, to really field out any units. So even though he's our first player in the Imperial Age, we haven't seen anything yet. I expect to see camels, but the light cavalry upgrade tells me he could be opening up with hussars. Let's swap over to Red's perspective. He is also in the Imperial Age. He's not really shown his hand yet. Aha, so it looks like he's going for Paladins. This is a fairly standard opening from the Huns in any sort of defensive map. The Huns do not excel on defensive maps. You do have to watch out, because the Huns have a very, limited army comp and tech tree. It's Paladins, heavy cavalry archers, trash units, and siege rams. And what this means is that they perform incredibly poorly against the Indians and the Saracens in the super late stages of the game, because they really don't have a reliable answer to these camels. Thankfully, though, when it comes to Mamluks versus Imperial camels, Mamluks are much better versus Halbs than Imperial camels are, so at least the Huns player can end up making halberdiers. So if you are Street Pete, the thing that you need to be thinking of now is, I also want to put down a bunch of barracks, and I also want to get my halberdier upgrades just in case I need to transition to those, because I think that is going to be relevant later on in the game. Yeah, map controls, as T90 says, map control is extremely important on this map because bases are super tight. And it looks like we are seeing a bunch of... This is one way to get map control, it's a lot of outposts. Yeah, here comes a battering ram, 2 monks doing some harassment, cavalier upgrade coming out for red. Don't really need to wait for Paladin to actually make a move, because you do still get a really big power spike off of that one. Radasock says, do you ever play Forest Prison? It's a map full with wood and you need to trade wood for gold until someone cuts through the forest for trade lines. I played Forest Nothing, but not Forest Prison, unless those are actually the same map. Anyway, Camel's coming out for our Indians player. Again, this is something that we would expect from them. So, you know, if you are Street Pete AOC, our Red Huns player, I would like to see him snagging some of those infantry upgrades just in case. Looks like our Celts player will be going for very standard halberdiers plus siege comp. Right now, these players are just waiting for their upgrades. Camels have been revealed to Red. Red has a very nice score, though. Red does have to back out, but he is experiencing a little bit of that lag spike action. Will this be a successful conversion for Teal while all the chaos is going on? It looks like Purple was waiting for the chemistry upgrade, something I generally like to do. Now he's going to move forward with some bombard cannons. He needs to mix bombard cannons into his army because the camels do not apply enough pressure to buildings alone. Yes, they do have that +5 attack bonus to buildings, but that's not enough to deal with castles safely. Motham is going to be putting down a castle, speak of the devil. Will this castle end up going down? I think the answer is no. Leaving his bombard cannon unattended, I think that Street Pete... Okay, there we go, nice. He's going to end up splitting his cavaliers. That way he can take down the bombard cannon, and he also has something to keep these camels busy. Looks like, though, that Motham will be deleting his castle, losing out a little bit of stone. Perhaps this was not the place to put it. A little too close to the battlefield. I might have positioned it a little bit over that way, but I don't think he realized that people are indeed ready to move out. Here comes Teal with the reinforcements. Some Chuko news plus pikeman opening. We would expect the Chuko news almost every game as a fairly standard safe opening from the Huns. I mean, sorry, from the Chinese. But it's nice that he's mixing in these pikemen because he knows that his flank, the player across from him, is the Indians, so he's already seen the heavy camels, so it's good on him to adapt and get the pikemen out, and then I'm assuming he will be upgrading those to halberdiers soon. Street Pete AOC is going to be sacking a couple of his cavaliers. Looks like Windscreen Wipers is lagging a little bit. Yeah, just desperately trying to get in there, but really, like, with the hill advantage that these walls have, it's going to be even harder to break through them, even with Paladins. Welcome, Mr. Kicker Key. Always great to see you. Yeah, I would say that that was probably a misplay there. Obviously, easier for us to say in retrospect. I do think all these players have been playing well. It's just that since they're on the hill, that means that the Paladins are just going to do significantly reduced damage to that wall. Right now, it looks like Ready Teddy does have Fura Celtica. He has almost all the necessary upgrades for his halberdiers, and he's just moving line forward. He does need that Siege Engineer's upgrade to deal with any opposing siege weapons. Now we're in an interesting position. How many Paladins are there for red? The answer is actually not too many, if any at all. And he's got a couple Cavaliers coming out here, but really he just needs to get his economy on track. Green moving the line forward. Is he going to put down an outpost? We'll have to see. It's probably a forward siege workshop, yeah, because the siege weapons are so slow. So this allows him to reinforce the battle line just a little bit sooner. Let's swap back to Windscreen Wiper's perspective. How will this battle go for him? I have to say, I do favor Teal's army here. I do think that the Elite Chuko News combined with Halberdiers is just an excellent way to deal with the Indians. This is such a strong anti-Indians army because what he's doing by spamming all these Halberdiers is he's forcing the Indians player, Aoe2, to make hand cannoneers as a way to deal with them, and hand cannoneers get absolutely clobbered by these Elite Chuko Nu. Hand cannoneers very inaccurate at range and don't have enough pierce armor or hit points to really deal with this. So as long as he stays outside of the castle range, I think Windscreen Viper's in an excellent position here. Heavy camels on the defense. Algernon going to build a castle to try and back this up. Still, though, Teal, I think that the thing that's going to be a problem for him right now is that he does not actually have any siege weapons, so he's not able to apply the killing blow, even though he is doing some significant damage. Paladin upgrade here for red. He's just kind of waiting for his economy to get back on track after that huge initial investment, but I do think he's in for a rude awakening if he's making nothing but Paladins. Directly across from the Celts player, what do you do? This matchup is not so great for red. I would actually request assistance from orange here. I know that orange right now is preoccupied because this is going to be our 2v2 side. It's just that, yes, you know, the mass paladins just do not do very well versus the halberdiers. And if you want to mix in some heavy cavalry archers as a way to deal with the halbs, it's still not that great. And you have to watch it for the onager shot. So I'd like to see some massed elite skirmishers maybe as a way to kind of deal with this. But even that's still not that great. Yeah, some elite skirmishers, maybe some heavy cavalry archers. And you have to micro them quite well. I do say that the Celts are a little bit favored in this situation. Gilgwath asks, will this be on YouTube? Yes, it will. So you may sleep in peace, my friend. Siege Rams coming out here for Ready Teddy. No Siege Engineers upgrade for him yet, but I think that Street Pete AOC is in absolute deep trouble. Meanwhile, huge battle here on the right side of the map. Paladins for Gray. This is something that we would expect from the Franks, of course, just because that's where their tech tree lies. Here comes the Elite Eagle Warriors from Motham. Do have max defense upgrades, but he is missing couriers. Oh, this is going to be a tricky battle for Teal and Orange to win. He says, shit, here comes all the Paladins. I do not think he was expecting this. Right now, Aoe2 is doing a great job holding the line here with his Imperial Camels, and that now that he has the Paladins, they're actually just able to overpower this army. I think one of the reasons why the army is getting overpowered here is that opening up with Elite Eagle Warriors, I think, was a mistake here. Now, again, it's easier for us to say that in retrospect, and I really don't blame Mothman. The Incas are a civ that like no one actually plays, and no one plays Hillfort either. Why do I think that was a mistake? We have to guess what units our opponent is making, and then tailor our opening to that. We're dealing with the Franks here. Franks pocket, of course they're massing Paladins. That's what the Franks do. That's where their bonuses lie. Their Paladins get additional HP. When we're dealing with the Indians, Elephant Archers is on the table, yes. However, we know that that wasn't the game plan at all from Aoe2. We saw the camels revealed very early on. He was the first player to the Imperial Age. These camels were no secret. So, Elite Illegal Warriors do not match up very favorably versus the Imperial Camels, nor do they match up favorably versus the Paladins. The Eagle Warriors are only going to be good if you're able to rush them out and raid your opponent's economy in the super early game, or if your opponent is massing up a ton of ranged units. So, and really that was just not the case in either situation. Teal, though, is threatening a pushback here. I love Teal's army comp. It's just that Orange right now is transitioning to Halbs, which is exactly what he needs to do, so good on him for identifying this. It's just it might be too little too late. I think the Eagle Warriors here were just kind of ill-advised. Especially because we know that Purple could very easily transition into hand cannoneers. We know that because we saw the Bombard Cannon revealed earlier. That means he has the chemistry upgrade research. It's normally very slow. This game is not over yet because Teal has such a huge army and Orange is spamming Halbs. They are fighting underneath his castle. Red in here reinforcing with some Paladins. Oh, man. I do think that making your own Halberdiers here is also a good idea, just as a way to deal with the opposing Halbs. This is, again, kind of an awkward matchup for the Huns, but I think that Street Pete AOC is playing it quite nicely, able to hold the line here. I say it's somewhat unfavorable, though, because it's difficult for him to actually make units to beat that army without sustaining huge gold losses on his side. He is sending assistance, so I think that we will see this side of the map actually switch back. And he is doing some raiding with the Paladins, which is exactly what he needs to do when the Civ matchup doesn't really work out in his favor. Still, though, it's okay. He has plenty of Paladins. Paladins are so strong even when faced with a huge army of Halberdiers, and he has his own Halbs at the front. He has to be able to win this battle, and thankfully he did because there's a golden stone at the front of his base. Defensive castle might help him out a little bit too. Windscreen Wiper is still kind of lagging. Orange just massing Halbs is exactly what he needs to do. Maybe his economy is just a little bit too small this game. It's difficult for us to tell. Orange can move the line forward, and I think, yeah, now that Red has mixed in some of his own units, I think he's good to go, and I just love Teal's army comp. I think that the Halberdiers plus Chukonu is exactly what he needed to deal with the Indians, and I do think that the Indians here don't match up particularly favorably with the Chinese because this is such an easy opening for them to go to. You generally want to force your opponent into going for something that feels suboptimal for them, but here, Windscreen Wipers is just in his natural element here. Elite Chukonu is such a strong unit for the Chinese, and then the Halberdiers are just something that is totally okay for him to mix in as a way to keep those cavalry off them. So, if you are purple, what do you do in a situation like this? Because now the heavy camels are becoming significantly weaker. They don't deal with Halbs. They no longer deal with the Chukonus either. So what do you do? Hand cannoneers are kind of weak here. I do think you need to make the hand cannoneers anyway, even though they do die to the Chukonus. You just need something as a way to protect them and deal with those elite Chukonus. So I would say hand cannoneers and maybe onagers, bombard cannons, elite skirmishers could be okay. Maybe you go for like a full-on ranged army here might be all right. If you do that, though, Orange can easily transition into his own onagers, which we see him threatening to do right about now. Paladins on the way for Red. Very, very risky of him to do that, leaving his own base undefended. Woad Raider's interesting choice. These will clean up any sort of Halberdiers on the part of Red. And Red has to be very careful because while he's helping the opposing flank, he has to make sure that he doesn't die in his own base. Blackwind says, by the way, do your bridged, Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridged Pegasus impression. I haven't done that in a while, so we'll see. I'm trying to think of something that Pegasus says that's particularly funny that I could do. Yeah, Pegasus, of course, from Yu-Gi-Oh! What dark forces have I unleashed? Dirty hands! Dirty, dirty hands! Ooh, Yugi boy. Kaiba boy. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge. I actually got to shake hands with Little Karibo in person. I met him at Fanime. Very nice guy. Well. Looks like the turntables have turned, as Green just waltzing in here relatively unopposed, because again, Red trying desperately to turn the other side of the map in his favor. Thinks he needs to be there. Perhaps his teammates do indeed need him, but at what cost? The cost perhaps of his own base, and this is also another reason why you want to build your economy near the back. Because the battle line is in your own base, then you could stand to lose a huge chunk of your economy. Phoenix says, why didn't you get the Indian architecture mod? No particular reason. Say anything and end it with Kaiba Boy, that's the plan. Well, Red might be dead, but he is mixing in some trash units in here, as the Huns like to do, but again, I just really feel like the Huns are not in their element when you're playing on any sort of closed map like Hillfort. Elephant Archers coming out here. I do think Elephant Archers are okay. They do die to Halberdiers, but if you have enough of them, it's not a huge deal. I really just think he's just trying to get some bodies on the field, something to soak up some damage, because right now they are losing this flank, but they are losing Red, and I think this is the bigger problem because they're not making enough headway over here. These Paladins have been very helpful, but at what cost? The Woad Raiders, I do think, interesting choice on the part of Green. Red's going to have a lot of trouble defending against this. I think he is making the right units, but it just doesn't match it favorably. I think a big problem right now for Red is he just does not have the upgrades. I think that's why he's getting, clobbered so hard by Green, because there are no scale mail armor or anything for these Halberdiers, which means they die even faster to the Road Raiders. And he also had a good chunk of his economy at the front of his base. I think this was perhaps a bit of a mistake on his part. Again, we can't blame him. It's all easier in retrospect. What he needs to do now is rebuild his economy, like, in the back more. It's just he's not able to do that because Gray is raiding him so hard. Another town center coming down for Red, so great reaction on his part. He was playing so well. I can't believe he was actually able to hold off Green initially. But now they're just losing so much ground, so much map control. Can they snowball this side to make up for it? Looks like we're going to trade some players. I think this is a super dicey situation for them, though. And I do think that it favors the green, gray, and purple team. Memoriam says Orange makes slingers and eagles to fight the Celts. Yeah, if he was backing up this side, that's when, yeah, some eagles to take out the siege weapons can be certainly good, and slingers to deal with the infantry, I think, are totally fine. CJR Martin. I don't think there'll be another match after this, but you can find the live stream scheduled on my Twitch page, and if you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you will get updates, as well as a little email notification. I always stream significantly earlier than this, so if you are able to, if it meets your schedule, to come by here about 2 hours earlier, you will not miss the stream in the future. I will post this on YouTube, though, no worries. Yeah, Gray being really obnoxious with the raiding. These guys need to, like, desperately rebuild their economy, and Orange needs to, like, pull out over here and defend Red, because now this is a losing battle. You know, if you're pushing this side and you're Orange, you're playing to not lose, not playing to win. If Red dies, there's no way they can possibly come out on top here. They're pushing way too slowly, and that's why I love that there are so many forward buildings for Purple and Gray on this side of the map. You want to keep the battle line outside of your own base. And this is great, because it's going to take them so long to actually push through this before they do any sort of actual meaningful damage. Purple threatening to do some raiding as well with his Hussars. I think that this is basically, it's going to be a slow and steady death for this team, unless Orange manages to clean this out. Street Pete says, looking bad. It is indeed looking bad. I would like to see maybe some, like, slingers, champions, eagles, etc. Something to deal with this army. If Red's dead, and it looks like he's, like, almost entirely dead, he's, like, nowhere to run his villagers. What population is he at? Actually, much higher than I thought. We're going to need to see some retreating action here. We're going to see Orange just rally, because, look, we're just going to need to rally everything. I think he's reacting a little too slowly to this. But again, I do think that these players are playing really well. I point out these things for educational purposes, for future reference. That way, when you guys play your own games, you recognize you could be in a situation like this, because it's easier to say in retrospect. If you recognize that you're in a situation like this, the moment that your opponent's main town center is threatened, it's go time. You gotta switch gears, and defend him. Because at that point, you can no longer reliably make sure that he can stall in that situation. At that point, we're almost certain that he's just going to bleed out. And what they're doing is that they're trading one player for nobody. They're trading one player for map control, but no actual kills. You want to make sure that your exchanges in Age of Empires 2 are, strategically equivalent. In this case, not so much. They're making some significant headway here, just not enough. And, I got to give major props to Windscreen Wipers here for just picking the right units, moving the line forward. And it's been fairly easy for him to do so, but not mixing in Halberdiers there would have been a big mistake. Purple desperately trying to figure out what units to make in this situation. I do think making, like, the mass ranged units is the way to go. I like these mixing into Onagers. Gray can just kind of, like, safely spam Paladins, being the Franks, and just not really care. Kind of like the Huns can do. He doesn't really have that many, honestly, like, other good options besides that. These guys are going to die. It's just that I think that they would be able to continue the push without the help of Orange. Hopefully. It's just that this needs to be cleaned out ASAP. Otherwise, no trade line, no shirt, no shoes, no service. Orange also losing a huge chunk of his economy, and this is when it's really starting to snowball. Welcome to stream as well, Corbett. Yeah, it's not like they really have that much of a choice on what units to really make here. At least Red doesn't have that much of a choice on what units he makes. But Orange, though, Orange doesn't have to be making Halbs. He's just trying to be conservative with his gold. And the Halbs are nice over here because that's where all the Paladins are. But when he's rallying things to help his teammates here, I like the idea of slingers, champions, eagle warriors seem very good here. Eagle warriors deal with a siege. They don't really match it favorably versus elite road raiders, but I would like to see maybe some champions and slingers as a way to clean this out, because he has the money for it. It's just that he's just changing his gather points. The Halbs on this side, though, are absolutely correct, and ever since he transitioned to them, which was a great plan on his part, they've started making some significant progress. Well, here comes the stone walls. Purple trying to stall because he knows that if he can stall, then green can win this game. Will this create enough space? I think the answer is yes, though. I still think they're fine. Red just needs to keep rallying Paladins. Should be good to go. Orange applying quite a bit of pressure, but really, like, I think 100% of the focus needs to be on green. I think this is a losing play to make that exchange here because he's losing the back of his own base, too. And when, when losing your flank starts to bleed into your own base and you're the pocket, I think that's your signal if it wasn't before. Which generally should be your opponent, your teammate losing his main town center. But if it wasn't, wake-up call before, now it is when you start taking the damage, because now it's your problem. Oh, you were watching the stream from the beginning? My bad, Corbic. I've just been scrolling through the list, just welcoming people that have been saying hi. I may have actually already welcomed you before, but I do remember you being here earlier. Oh, hey, I'm Lucius. Oh my gosh. I will be posting the new game to YouTube, Hungry Outbird, yes. Red is completely dead. Good on him not to give up, because here's the thing. When you're in a situation like this, the losing play is to give up as well. Until the other flank starts dying, you want to stay in the game because you never know. Maybe this is actually going to win the game. Maybe orange and teal can actually just kill these people because purple's pretty dead, but he's not entirely dead. He is threatening a counterattack over here, and I like that he's doing this. This is a smart play on the part of Kanye2. So, we check out purple right now. He is trying to keep the battle out of his own base by pushing over here, forcing teal to pull his units back. Something that he's not really able to do because he's going to forfeit so much pressure. He doesn't want to fight in his own base. So I think this is very smart in his part. Orange, again, still just going aggressively, not defending red. I guess he's okay to let red just GG out entirely. This is a bold move. Will it pay off? Not My Skype asked, are we ever going to see Stalin versus the Martians again? Do people want to see Stalin versus the Martians again? Right now I've been pretty busy with work, but after BlizzCon, it's something that's certainly on my radar. I do think, though, that the novelty of it could run out pretty quickly, so... I would like to showcase just the last level, because the last level is certainly amazing, and don't check it out if you don't want to spoil it for yourself, as I'll probably do at some point. But that means that I would also have to play through the rest of that crap, so... Yep, that's what YouTube is for. I'll be posting all the VODs on YouTube. It was like, yeah, Gray is finally running out of money. You can only make so many Paladins before you run out of cold hard cash, and it looks like... Oh, purple actually getting housed. Again, forcing teal to actually react to this, which is good. We'll slow this push down. This game is actually very close. I just think they're going to lose this by a tiny margin because they're not defending red. They have yet to kill teal. This is also why you want all of your stuff in the back. And if you guys ever play Hill Fort for some reason, remember not to do it with 8 players in 4v4 until that bug is fixed. But also remember to put most of your economy at the back of your base so you can be like Twest. That way, when you end up losing a lot of ground, and you lose your main base, you actually don't lose too much of your economy. Poor red, running out of places to run, except this lumber camp in the middle of the battlefield. Red is actually kind of holding the line versus green, though, kind of miraculously. His aggression kind of petering out here, as I think green's just kind of forced to react to orange, so maybe this gambit pays off. I don't know. I just think that they're still very far behind. Will Windscreen Wipers be able to mop this up? I don't know. The Chinese army is strong. So are these villagers. Yeah, I guess you can't defend red anymore, because he is dead now, but, Yeah, I think that, maybe Gray made too many Paladins. I'm just trying to think what else he could have made to deal with that army. He was dealing with halberdiers, Chupanews, just a lot of halberdiers. I do think he wanted some Paladins, but, perhaps he could have just been making some, like, onagers and hand cannoneers. Yeah, maybe Gray could have just gone for a mono-ranged army. But then again, that still would have been very costly in his gold supply. He probably just could have mixed in a lot of trash units in there, I think, as a way to mitigate his losses. Because you only need so many Paladins as a way to deal with the Rams and the Elite Chukanus. I think you actually could save a lot of money if you mix in some onagers and some trash units. Still, though, I don't think that should have been a huge problem for him, considering it's a team game if he just had more trade cards. But right now, he's just kind of panicking as he's trying to, readapt his economy. I think he's been doing fine with this, though. Purple, holding the line here. Teal managed to actually repel this entire offensive push. So purple will die. That is no question. It's just that, will he die fast enough? And I'm going to say no. I think that he'll honestly be okay. And I like that Gray's reinforcing this corner, has a bunch of defensive buildings here. Oh yeah, Scorpions could have been a really good army, really good unit against an army now that I think about it. As long as the siege rams don't actually touch them, Scorpions could have been okay. Elite Shogunus are alright versus Scorpions though, because they get to fire multiple shots. That's a lot of siege rams for Teal. I like that he's putting emphasis on making a ton of them. And he will just start demolishing this. Ray does not really have that large of an economy. Is this game not over? I don't know, I just like that Red's wasting time. I feel like if you're a green that you can actually just ignore Red and just go straight for Orange and just try and kill him. Or defend on this side, because perhaps maybe Green has just been getting too distracted with Red's supple body. I love that Red's not giving up. If he gave up, then this game would have been over a long time ago, but they still have a chance. It's just looking slim. And Orange still has to deal with the elephant in the room, which are not actually literally elephants, but they're halberdiers instead. At some point, he's going to have to turn around and deal with this. I love that, by the way, that Kanye Twist actually blocked this off like a little jerk. Very cute of him. And he's, again, just trying to stall by just putting buildings everywhere, assault the earth, try and get as much map control as possible. That way, he has so much time. So much space to lose. I think that Green has been just baited by Red. You know, Red is taunt. He must die first. I feel like Green's been wasting a lot of time here, but you know, easier said than done. I think he did play really well when he managed to actually just kill Red initially. Will Teal be able to push out here and apply the killing blow to Purple? I don't know. Here comes the Siege Rams. Gray losing ground rapidly. Really just doesn't have that much ground to lose, and Orange still doing okay. Will Orange make a unit that's not a Halberdier this game? I'm assuming he's been slinging. Got a Motham's perspective. Yes, I'm assuming he has been slinging. His economy is very small. I think that the most important thing that you can do in this situation while you're taking damage is to make sure that your economy is always being patched up. I would put more emphasis on that than the military in these late-game team games, so, you know, I would look at my economy and be like, 98 wood, oh, Jesus, 2 lumberjacks, oh, Jesus. I would have already started spamming 10 centers in this corner over here and just started working on that, but that's something that takes a lot of practice to do, is making sure that you're eyeballing your economy, because I don't know how he's going to sustain unit production with 2 lumberjacks. I think he's going to run out of steam. It's all up to Windscreen Wipers, who is doing an absolute work, doing a number on the opposing team here. Onager's coming in to clear these out, as well as a bunch of Paladins. These Siege Rams are relatively unescorted, so a lot of them will go down, but I think this castle will also die as well. Meanwhile, Teal pushing on the top side of the map. He's playing so well, and this is all without trade when the opposing team has trade. Green moving the line forward. He's running a little bit low on gold too. Red just stalling as much as humanly possible. Orange needs to rebuild his economy. Again, that should be the priority. You know, you shift queue a bunch of halberdiers, you pan your camera back, you look back at your eco, you try and repair that. Yeah, there hasn't been siege weapons from Green in a while, but I'm assuming that's just because he's running low on gold. I think this push will get repelled. This was actually a very close and awesome game. Even though it felt like a very slow defeat, they were showing promising signs of life throughout. I just think that, yeah, Teal 2 versus 1 is not going to be able to sustain this push. He's pushing on this side, and he's done a ton of damage to Purple. It's just, you know, Orange's economy is an absolute shambles. He has, I think, like, no wood income whatsoever. I mean, now he has some wood income. And I think that Red has been at like 4 population now for like 30 minutes. 26 population. Wow, I can't believe how effectively he's been stalling to manage to keep this lumber camp. Teal says I'm winning my side. That is true, he is winning his side, but you know, I think we're finally reaching the point where it's okay to quit, but it wasn't okay before. You have to give it that shot. Thank you so much, Christianatron, for the 13-month resub. Welcome to the stream. Over a year. Streepy, take my energy, yes. Orange, make anything OP. Ah. Well. Orange will be calling GG. Yeah, I think that, I know that it would be frustrating for Teal to call GG here. It's just that I think at this point you can, just because his push at the back here, that had to succeed. And it was relatively successful, it just wasn't lethal. Oh man, Teal playing so very well, but in the end, there's only so much he can do. He's so fucking rich. God, has he been slung by both players this game? I'm assuming he's been slung by both players, but we'll be able to verify that in the post-game. He must have been getting slung here. That's probably why we saw mostly halberdiers from Orange, and I'm assuming like almost all the gold went to Teal, yeah. Red's finally gonna resign. These guys played super duper well. Every player in this game did, but ultimately, you know, losing the side and then never actually defending it, I think was a bit of a strategic blunder. I do think, though, that you only want to Like, once you're decisively winning this side, which I think there was a point that we saw earlier on where they were decisively winning this side, that's when it's okay to pull off some units. You know, the moment that the main town center is threatened, that's when it's like, okay, this is actually a real problem. And if you wanted to let red die in exchange for killing purple, you have to start defending yourself from green once your own economy starts getting threatened. Although I do think I would have liked to have seen him get defended just a little bit sooner. Excellent unit choice all around. Teal played really well, and assuming he got slung like crazy. And let's go check that out. GG, well played. I would like to see that. Oh, no, he didn't get slung like crazy. No, he just actually happened to macro really well. Well, good job. Yeah, he just macroed really well, and he didn't really sustain that many units lost because of the smart unit choices. Bounce says, I managed to get my boyfriend into Age of Empires 2, and he likes it, but he always gives up after the first rush. Could you give him some advice? Thanks. Well, I'm glad to hear, Bounce, that you're able to get your boyfriend to try Age of Empires 2. I would recommend playing the Resin Spot Custom AI with your boyfriend, perhaps on a lower difficulty, like on easiest or standard. Yeah, play some AI games with him, and then just focus on defending him. Make sure that play a map with like stone walls, perhaps like Arena. I think would be really good. And then just try and defend your boyfriend. I think that would be fun. In terms of actual advice for him, though, is, obviously the most important thing is not to give up after the initial rush. And if he's having trouble with the rushes, maybe that's not his thing, then Arena is, I think, your go-to map for lots of fun. Resin Spot is also a good practice partner for that. If you're having trouble getting rushed, I think that if you're playing against slower players or you're playing against the AI, trying to build like a defensive castle in his own base, maybe play Regicide is fine. Maybe he needs to build more early game military units, but I don't think he'll have too much trouble getting rushed if he is making sure his town center is always working. So creating villagers, researching a tech, or advancing to the next age. As long as he's always constantly making villagers, I think he'll be fine. Yeah. And then if he, remembers to make some military units before like 20 minutes, it'll just take practice. But really, like, if he can get his town center always working, then I think he'll be fine. That's the most important thing. Hopefully that is hopefully that's helpful in some way. GG, well played. That was a really good game. I don't want anyone giving like people too much flack for this one though, because again, it's really easy for us to see what should happen because we can see the whole picture. But when you're playing in the game, there's a lot that's going through your mind. You have limited information. So I point out all these things so that in your own games you can recognize these situations and then avoid them yourself. So yeah, props to Teal for some absolutely excellent macro. He had a lot of resources in the bank. He was able to constantly stay at 200 population. He played very well, but so did everybody this game. Strong economy here, too. Yeah, I do think that playing on, like, Arena would be the good thing to do there, yeah. Oh, yeah, still, though, I do have to say that, actually, he was macroing very well and playing very well, but I do think Windscreen Wipers needed to send some of that money to his teammates. In retrospect, actually, that's easier for us to recognize. I think he was a bit distracted, and he probably missed the message. Okay, yeah, he said he missed the message. Yeah, he sent 2K food to Street Pete, but yeah, he probably could have sent a little bit more, but again, there's just so much to keep track of. Wild Ducky says, approximately what elo levels could I play against online if I could beat the hardest AI? Well, assuming you're not cheesing it by like tower rushing it or like pulling his villagers in the Congo line, or like palisade rushing him or something crazy. Assuming you're actually like not attacking him before like 13 minutes, then so it's fair. I would say that you could probably beat like 1650 rated players. The color choice is the reason for victory. I agree, Spade too. Thanks, Sentanuki. So yeah, this is an excellent game. Hope you guys learned something and found it entertaining. If you did, let me know in a comment below. I do take the time to read them all, even though I don't always have the time to respond to each of them individually. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a thumbs up. It does help a lot, as well as check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. I got plenty of Age of Empires 2, as well as videos for other games. If you like this one, you'll probably like those as well. Expert games, tutorials, topical videos, you name it. As well as non-Age of Empires 2 content. So again, thank you so much for those of you who've taken the time to support the Hearthstone, Armello, or whatever I'm mixing it up with on the side to help support the longevity of the channel. The better those things do, the more motivated I am to do more AoE2. And as always, guys, thank you for the support. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching. I do think that this was quite a good game. Good to see some help for it. I actually do like this map by design. We just have to remember not to play with 8 players. Oh yeah, before I end this off, for the people on YouTube, yeah, let's show Let's show why quality assurance testing is a necessary thing whenever you're developing any game. This happens approximately, you know, I'd say 3 out of 4 times, so it might not happen the first time. Nope. All right, we're good to go here. Let's try it one more time with gusto. It's about a 66%, 75% reproduction rate. Let's do it. Oh, not quite. Wow, we're getting unlucky today. Best of 3? Come on! Ah, shit. Is it because it generated correctly before? Are we learning something new? Come on! We saw this before. No! What? Is it just... Okay, so maybe if it generates correctly one time, it's fixed? Am I discovering new things? Oh my god! Alright, let me restart my game. I'm actually legitimately curious. Now you've done it. I showed it like 4 times on stream today, and I have it all documented. So, if it generates correctly once... Does it continuously generate correctly after that 100% of the time? That is fascinating. Show me the money. Oh. Well, this is also incorrect, but in an acceptable way. What the hell? Come on. There we go. Woo! Can I get some applause? So, okay, so we're only going to start that from after I restarted the game, because it looks like what happens is that once it generates correctly, because we played it with fewer than 8 players, that... Oh, this is hot. Thank you so much, Motham. Really appreciate the $20. Yeah, so I guess what happens is that if you got it to generate correctly by playing with fewer than 8 players, then it does just consistently generate correctly. But if you restart your game, it goes back to being completely fucking broken, so that's great. Oh, this is so cute. Oh, look at... Oh, my God. I love you, HD, never change. They're gonna fix it someday, don't worry. This bug has only been in the game for 3 years. So... Yeah, it has a fairly high reproduction rate, but... We'll just say 2 out of 3 times. If you have, if you play like Hill Fort and you have 8 players and everybody has a teammate. So like a 4v4 or 2v2v2v2 is totally fine. Everyone has to have a team, it has to be 8 players. Nice. Hot TC on TC action. That's so sad. Oh, he turned around! Oh my god. Nice. Poor guy. So anyway, thank you so much for watching the live stream today. I hope you all enjoyed it. You find the live stream schedule on my Twitch page by scrolling underneath the video player there. Thank you guys for being wonderful today. I got a lot of new donations and subs. You guys have been great. While I'm out of town in Spain, I've got... Ooh, this is good. Shit. I like what I'm seeing. While I'm out of town in Spain, I'll be keeping the usual flow of YouTube uploads on the way, and yeah, lots more Age of Empires and other stuff. Be doing some more Hearthstone. I have another Armella video on the way too, but by the time I post this on YouTube, it'll probably already be there. And I think this is the perfect moment to just end off the stream. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and for those of you who are in Canada, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, but by the time I post it on YouTube, it's probably already passed. Doodles, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and thank you for watching. GG, well played.
Right.